Hey, Hawkeye fans, welcome back. Your Hawkeyes are bringing home the Heroes Trophy from Lincoln. We are talking to a very special guest that I've been trying to get on all season long. Cade McNamara is joining us, and your Hawks are headed to the Big Ten Championship again, taking on Michigan again. Welcome back to Talkin Hawks, presented by Hills Bank.
No matter where you are in life, Hills Bank is here to help you succeed. Whether you're buying your first house, saving for your child's future, or preparing for retirement, you can count on the people at Hills Bank for the support you need to reach your goals. It's easy to connect with a banker in person, over the phone, or on hillsbank.com because we believe banking is better through human connection. Hills Bank is an equal housing lender and FDIC member.
Hi, Matt.
Hey.
How are you?
God is good. Another win.
Another win. 10 wins.
10 wins.
And we brought home another trophy.
Yes, sir.
That was quite the game.
So that's 3 out of 4 trophies.
Yeah.
An invalid trophy. But outside of that, I mean, overall, pretty solid.
KF is still bitter about that.
Yeah, I saw the soundbite.
Him and the rest of us.
Very true.
Well, hey, a couple of Hawkeye updates. I used to do a lot of Hawkeye updates. The weekly Hawkeye update, I used to do it live on Facebook. Literally every week. It was so much too, because we covered like all of the sports. All the OG Iowa Hawkeye fans, when I first started, will know exactly what I'm talking about. Soccer, volleyball, like all the fall sports, field hockey.
Way more nervous.
Way more nervous. Literally pooping myself before every single one. Okay. Hawkeye updates for you. Lisa Bluter gets her 500th win at Iowa.
Yeah, very cool.
How about that?
Well, you actually told me an interesting story about when she got hired.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, so they posted at the Iowa Hawkeyes Instagram, well, on all their socials, a video that was like celebrating her 500th win. And they showed when she first got like introduced to the press and to the public as the head coach. And she came walking on and she was like so pregnant. And I literally said to you, I was like, can you imagine me like in my 2nd or 3rd trimester pregnant being like, I'm going to take this new job? No. At that point, I'm ready to quit everything.
And cry.
And just cry. Just cry. Someone introduces me at a new job, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'm not sad. I don't know what I am. How many times did I tell you that when I'm pregnant?
Never.
Literally all the time. Iowa wrestling beat Iowa State today on ESPN.
That's cool to see. Gabe Arnold.
Gabe Arnold.
That was the only one that I had an opportunity to see. Well, him and blanket on the guy after him. He's a senior.
197.
Yeah.
Your senior. I can't think of his name either, but he clinched it.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the old guy here. It's my responsibility. It's my time. I was like, yes.
Yes, it is.
The post duel, or not post duel, but post match.
It's wild that they pull him right away. Like, he hasn't even got a drink of water.
The best. Because then it's just raw emotion.
Where's Shane Sparks?
Shane Sparks, man. Wrestling on TV isn't the same without Shane Sparks. Shout out.
That's a fact.
And then, of course, we got the win over Nebraska. So,
of course.
Big weekend. Good weekend to be a Hawkeye.
I agree.
Okay, I want to play a game with you really quick. So here's the thing. Matt and I have been sick. So since like last Sunday, I got sick and then Matt got sick right after, and it was just a whole thing, and we were just so off. And so now we're going to see how in tune we are. Because last night we were literally like, are we good? Like, we just feel so off. It's because we felt like crap.
For like a week.
But look at us go. Now we're back. And I feel like my energy has tripled. My body regenerated at the energy of 1,000 men.
That's what I always said about Dax.
Yes. Okay, we're going to play a game really quickly.
Okay.
So we're going to say a word. We're going to go 3, 2, 1. I say a word, you say a word until we come to the same word.
Okay. So this could be the hour of the podcast.
We're just going to do it really quick. John, if this is horrible content, just cut it. Are you ready? Ready. Random word.
Okay.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Chair.
Strawberry.
It took you that long to come up with strawberry?
I thought about...
You hesitated.
No,
Start over.
No, I hesitated because I didn't know if we talked at the same time, if that would be okay on the podcast. Is that okay? John says it's okay. Okay, so chair and strawberry.
Chair and strawberry.
All right, ready?
No. Where do you even go from there?
It's so easy. It's not.
Oh, I don't like that.
Ready?
No. Chair and strawberry. Okay, go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
Snack.
Kitchen.
Ooh.
Did you say snack?
I said snack. We're getting closer. Snack and kitchen.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Pantry.
Oh.
So close. I was going to say
the same.
I was going to say
snack.
It's all he wants. Okay.
Hold on. So we have Dax and pantry. Mm-hmm. Hold on. Okay, Laura, you got to get this one.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Cereal.
Oh, come on.
He doesn't even like chips that much. He likes cereal.
But he
way
always
more.
asks for chips. You might not eat them, but he asks.
All right. Think about
Hold on.
the location of the chips
and cereal.
and the location of the cereal in the pantry.
But
And
they're
then we're-
not. They're
then
not.
we're-
Okay.
then we're
You
gonna meet in
can't.
the
You can't do that.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Middle.
Bar. What'd you say?
Middle. It's far left and far right. You should think about the location. It would be middle. Did you say bar?
Yes, because the bars that he eats are in the middle.
Oh, the food.
They're in the middle
I thought
of
you meant location.
the location.
Okay, hold on. Middle and bar.
Okay.
That's where we're at, right?
I'm about to quit. I'm getting mad.
Middle and bar. Are we still down this pantry train of thought?
I'm not playing anymore.
We have to have a resolution.
I don't.
Sweet 401.
No,
we have to
I'm
have
getting like so
resolution.
irritated because I really was like, this is it. We're going to get it.
Okay, hold on. Bar, middle.
This is going to take too long.
We'll finish it. And if we need to cut the whole segment, we'll cut the whole segment.
Okay. Middle bar.
Are we going to go? Can we say brands?
Excuse me? What? Okay. Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Lar bar. There you go.
Done. See how we do that?
Yeah, John, don't cut anything.
We're right
We
on.
made it.
Okay. Let's go. Because there's some people that just skipped right past all that banter. And some people really liked it. So if you're still here, we're going to get into football now. And I forgot my iPad. So I'm just using my phone, which looks a little bit janky, but it wasn't charged. So I'm just going to use this.
Shocking.
And the words are so small. I'm going to have to put my readers on. I don't have any, but I need to get some. All right, Nebraska. What a game. Kind of an oogly one.
Isn't that the way they're supposed to be? That made me think of, sorry, this is totally off track, but Oogly Moogly. Oh, it was a children's show.
Yeah.
Maggie and the Giant Beast. Does that sound right?
So
Anyway.
like it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what you expect. So Le'Shawn Williams carried.
Mhm.
And I mean that figuratively and literally. I mean, you know, against what was supposed to be a top 3 defense, and then Wisconsin ran all over them. Braylon Allen had a good game. And so we knew that we could exploit some of that stuff, but Le'Shawn Williams went over 100 yards and obviously had the big run there at the end. But he's consistently been good.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of came in, he wasn't necessarily RB1, day one. You know, it was Caleb Johnson. That's where everything was. And then, you know, due to some injuries between Caleb and then Jazz emerged and then he got hurt and Le'Shawn's kind of been there, you know, the whole time. And it kind of goes to show that consistency is really going to show up at the end.
Yeah.
But that was big.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. How about Deacon? Do you have anything else on the
Run game?
run game? Oh my gosh, I could not think of that.
Well, Steven Stilianos, I thought, blocked great. And while we were watching, I called him Addison a strong gut because he was doing certain things. So our tight ends are blocking great, which we expect. But between all the rotating that we've had up front with the offensive line, it's really good to see us come out and run the ball like that. Deacon Hill did enough, but at the same token, we have to catch the ball on the outside. Like we start the game off 3rd and 4. Nico runs a great option route. At least it appeared to be an option route where he could win in or out. And he set him up outside because his leverage is already outside, meaning the defensive player. He pushes him outside even more to get him to take another step. He turns and like we just don't catch it. And I'm not going to put all this on Deacon. I'm not going to put all of it on Nico because obviously they both need to catch the ball or they both need to make the completion. But after a certain amount of time of throwing with somebody, you can no longer use the excuse he throws it too hard. Because at some point you're going to let you adjust. Like CJ threw the ball exponentially harder than Jake Rudock. They both got it to where they needed to go, obviously NFL guys, but like CJ's ball came out faster. So you had to be ready for it. And inevitably at the beginning, you're going to have a couple drops just because you're not used to the ball moving. But then like you have to get used to it because there were multiple drops in the game. Caleb Brown actually drops a touchdown on the outside when he goes, and he was trying to catch it. BK would always say, catch behind my eyes, where there's a point because the ball is moving faster than your face and your eyes. So if you put your hands behind, so let's say the ball's coming from my left and I put my hands on my right side, there's going to be a point where the ball passes into my hands, but my eyes can't follow it because it's too fast. So then I have to hope that my hands are in the right spot. Well, then you also have to close at the right time and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I made a lot of catches like that. And I probably dropped a few because of that too. But if we can get our hands out in front, you see it the whole time, it's a lot easier to catch. So like that one hurts. Obviously a couple third down drops. So like the pass game is there. We just have to execute, I mean, the plays are there to be made. It's unfortunate. Obviously Caleb Brown goes down with an injury. So we kind of got a little bit less of the receivers involved, but Seth Anderson make big plays, just quick slants, stuff like that. Strong hands, like they're there. And obviously we're going to need it going into next week, but like they're there. We just have to make those plays. Mm-hmm. So I think Deacon did enough.
How about the interception?
Yeah. So the unfortunate part about that is I don't think it was just good spacing, because I think Nico made a good play. Like I think Nico understands leverage. I mean, he's been there for a while, been coached for a long time. Like he should understand how to use the DB's leverage against him. But the problem is the tight end next to him, which I don't know if it was Estrango or if it was Pescuzzi, they were running probably within 5 yards of one another. Well, the problem with that is you've got two guys that can catch the ball, but you also got two bad guys right there too. And if the ball is not perfect, it's probably getting picked off. So as watching it, I think it's supposed to be a four verts concept where the tight end goes across the field. And so that way it leaves Nico truly one-on-one man-to-man coverage with a single high safety. But because he ran up the seam and Nico ran up the seam, or maybe tight end's supposed to go up the seam and Nico's supposed to go out to the numbers, like one or the other, they're too close. And we actually had this happen at Solon quite a few times. And it's like, there's nowhere to put the ball. And so Deacon saw that Nico made a great move, but the tight end is there. So hindsight, obviously shouldn't throw the ball in that scenario, but we got to have better spacing. And that's a simple pre-snap thing that we got to come up with.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
So like he was good enough, but obviously the late game turnover, we're playing Nebraska. We got the ball back, but like that, we can't expect that to happen.
When you're playing Nebraska, you might.
When you're playing Nebraska, so they've got NCAA FBS leading 31 turnovers. Turned the ball had 3 turnovers against us. We also put the ball on the ground twice. Thankfully, we came up with it. But like, it's just one of those things that we're playing a type of game that you cannot turn the ball over.
Right. Yeah, you said Deacon did enough. In his post game, he was like, "Yeah, Marshall, the kicker that came in at the end, he's like, he saved my butt." It's like, oh man.
I thought Herkit did that, but either way.
He saved everybody's butt.
Quite.
Okay, defense. Tell me about that.
Played stifling defense again. Nobody in double-digit tackles. Jay. But at the same token, I think that, our guys were flying all over the place. We had pretty good defensive discipline rushing the passer. And what I mean by that is, and we're going to need it again this week, is the way you rush the passer is different versus a pocket presence quarterback and a running quarterback. Because if you rush the passer with a pocket presence quarterback, you can kind of collapse the pocket a little bit more because you know they're not going to move. So you can run up a little bit or whatever. But if there's a rush, like a running quarterback like Chubba Purdy or JJ McCarthy, you have to rush it with incredible lane discipline, because if you get out of a lane, they'll take it and run. And there were a couple times where Chubba was able to roll out and then hit somebody or something like that. So that's something that we need to continue to improve. But again, we're so stifling that on the back end, our defensive backs were great. There was the one big play. Deshaun Lee was in the slot, and receiver just ran a good route. We were kind of in a deep man coverage. Deshaun didn't turn his hips fast enough. He was ready to jump something short. Unfortunately, went deep, get beat. You can live with that once a game, which is typically all I was going to give you anyway, if you get that one. So, they were really good. Obviously, like I said, 3 turnovers. The game-winning play for Ethan Herkit was called a fire zone.
Don't ask me.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm looking at dead eyes when I did that. Okay. So essentially we gave it's called a mugged look. So where everybody's up at the line of scrimmage. So Chubba thinks, I got to get this ball out because they're all blitzing. And he wasn't necessarily wrong, because our middle linebackers were down, or Jay was down there in the middle blitzing. But we didn't want to rush 5 or 6 and get stuck with true man-to-man in the background, or not have a rat in the middle or whatever. A rat is essentially somebody that sits in the middle of the field and then covers. And Herkit might have even just been a spy, but he happened to be in the right spot. Either way, they blitz the middle. So pre-snap, Chubba Purdy thinks, okay, I've got true man-to-man coverage. And if he thinks his protection is picking it up, then he thinks he has time. But he's like, okay, I've got 6 here to my 6. I've got true one-on-one everywhere. And it doesn't matter where I go with the ball. Nobody's going to be in the middle of the field. He snaps it. Jay Higgins does blitz. So now he's looking in the middle of the field like nobody's there. Well, our defensive end on the far side dropped to the middle of the field, which is not something you typically see because, again, he's thinking D-end, he's going to blitz. He's already got his hand in the dirt. He's coming down. He drops to the middle of the field. Purdy doesn't even see him, throws it literally right to him. He couldn't have asked for an easier one, right? And so, I mean, just the fact of pre-snap, and that's because Chuba hasn't played a ton of football from what I understand. He played a couple games at Florida State before he transferred to Nebraska, played a couple games at Nebraska, but pre-snap, he thinks he's got it open, so he looks his way, he looks left, he's not looking in the middle because, again, he thinks it's open, turns, boom, herk it, pick, bring it back, LaShawn Williams run far enough, and then Marshall called game.
Interesting. Okay, so you said he hasn't played a lot of football, so he couldn't know that that was going to happen. So is that like normally if you had like a seasoned quarterback, they would know that your D-end was going to drop into the middle of the field?
They wouldn't know that, but they would scan a little bit more. So like it depends on, so it's one thing that CJ was really good at is you look away from where you're going to throw the ball. Well, if I'm a young quarterback, typically young quarterbacks focus on one receiver. So if I know right now, pre-snap, that the in route is open, I'm going to wait for that in route to cut, and then I'm going to throw it.
Gotcha.
Whereas CJ would snap, look directly at the safety because he doesn't want to give him any leeway on where he's going to come. And then he knows he's going to throw this in route, but he's going to wait until he knows because he's repped it and he's repped it and he's repped it. Now's the timing, turn, boom, ball's out.
Gotcha.
But if you don't have that amount of timing, you're waiting for him to cut. And as soon as he cuts, then he throws it. Well, then you're only looking at your receiver and you're not looking at the guy sitting in the middle of the field because pre-snap, he's not supposed to be there.
Okay, got it.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. Okay, you want to talk about special teams?
Yeah, we got to talk a little bit. Torrey played well, 5 punts in the second half. So, I mean, he's continuing to get, we're continuing to get our usage.
Okay, question.
So
So obviously, Cooper was huge in the punt game on both sides, like returning it. And what is he called? Gunner. Okay. And playing gunner. Because he would like down at the one, the two, whatever, all the time. So how do you think, is it Weejan? That's how you say it, right?
Well, Weejan's the punt returner now, yeah.
Yeah, how do you think he's doing?
I think he's doing fine.
Yeah.
I think he's got some quick twitch, got to hold on to the ball. He had the one fumble. Thankfully, he landed back on top of it. But I think he's doing well. I think he's a quick twitch guy that wants to get downhill. He's also the kick returner. So it's kind of natural that he would also be back there. But yeah, I think punt returner is a good mesh of the 10 guys up front plus the returner. If you trust the 10 guys up front, your returner can be dangerous as much as he wants to be. If you don't trust the other 10 guys up front, you're not going to be a very dangerous returner. And that's just the nature of it.
Okay. So then the obvious thing we have to talk about is the game winner. And I'm actually going to give my own unsung hero here.
Well, not yet.
Oh,
it's not the segment.
I'm sorry. Okay. I got too excited.
Hold on. We got to talk about not the elephant in the room. But obviously, Drew Stevens gets pulled for the game winner.
Yeah, it was just an off game for him.
Yeah, friend of the pod. Sorry that he got yanked there. But Coach Ferentz talked about it a little bit after the game and said that he was just having a rough day.
Right.
Like, you get 2 blocks or 2 kicks blocked. He kicked 2 out of bounds. Like, clearly he's not in the right headspace. And so they send a kid out there who hasn't kicked since November of 2022 for Central Michigan, and it was a missed extra point. It was the last time he stepped on the field. He was actually going to stop playing football until Coach Woods called and was like, "Hey, we'd love to have you here."
That's crazy.
He goes out there, barely has enough leg at 38 yards in the cold. But yeah, so it's just unfortunate the kicking game wasn't as good as it normally is, but that's the point of team. Like that's what I think some other schools miss is like the culture and the team aspect.
Yeah.
Because you said there was a really interesting quote from Mika right after the game. Meter, excuse me.
Yes. Yeah. So he was saying that basically like he honestly wished it wouldn't have been him. Like he wished it would have been Drew kicking that game winner because he wanted it for him. And he was like teary-eyed talking about it. So you can tell that this team clearly with all of the
Hoopla.
The hoopla of a lot of things, and then also the injuries and just all that they've been through, and a lot of that too isn't just like, oh, you have physical injuries. It's a lot of mental when your
100%.
QB1 goes down, when your
Tight end 1, tight end 2.
The list goes on. Like that mentally, it takes a toll on you too, as a team and as a player, as a culture, just as a program in general. And just to see how they've really banded together. And it feels a little bit like Iowa football against the world. And I know Ryan Day loves to say it's Ohio against everybody.
Michigan's saying the same thing right now.
But it really is. I mean, and also we'll get to this too, but obviously we're the underdog going into next weekend. And they asked Kirk Ferentz about that. And he was like, yeah, we've been the underdog for, pretty much every year going into almost every situation. I think we're kind of used to it.
I say Nebraska was favored last night or on Friday night.
Crazy. But my point to that is that like we just have a way of keeping that tight knit bond in the program and inside the building. And you've been a part of that too, where it's Iowa football against everybody in a way, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway,
coming off of 2014, we were 7-6. And nobody expected us to do anything. And then we run the table in 2015.
Yeah. It's exciting. Okay. Do you have anything else about the game?
We have our unsung heroes.
Obviously.
I've got 2 and you've got 1. This was a great game for the unsungs.
Mine's just really quick. So these are unsung heroes brought to you by JB Roofing. And usually I don't do this because I don't see the things that you see.
But now you do.
I try really hard.
Because you've been listening to to me during the podcast, but yeah.
So if you listen to, if you rewatch the kick, the game winner, and you are watching it on TV, they're like, it's a good snap, good hold, kick goes up, and it's good. But if you listen to Dolph and Eddie, he says the snap is low, it bounces, and Tori grabs it, places it just right, the kick goes up, barely has enough. And I don't think that's a testament to the leg strength of Meter. I think that it was a really funky hold that he just had to get there and the timing was off and it was just like 3/4 of the strength that he needed or that he has. And it was just enough. Okay.
It's a little bit of both.
I know, but this is where my head is. So anyway, if you listen to Dolph, you get kind of a different story, which is where I was like, oh my gosh, the unsung hero is Tori. Because it's hard to see when you're just watching it from the view of like up by the goalpost that you get on TV.
You can a little bit.
But it does. It bounces and he very quickly grabs it, places it, and boom, there's the game winner. So my unsung hero, which again, I don't typically do this, is Tori Taylor. Okay, your turn.
Well, one other thing to second that point is that I forget if they asked KF, but they said that was right on the edge of Meter's range.
Crazy.
It's kind of like when it was Keith to Shudak. Like how much, like, can he push it to 40? Like that's where he was at. But yeah, an incredible hold by Tori Taylor. Not only that, to get it off the bounce, but then to spin it to no laces, because it's very different kicking with the laces than when not. So yes, game winner Tori Taylor definitely deserves it. I got 2 other guys that deserve it because of what could have happened. First one, Jacob Bostic.
Okay.
He's number 7. You haven't seen him a lot this year. Talked about him last week, actually, when Deacon Hill rushed and Nico flew over to make a block and Bostic didn't quite know that he was supposed to block once the quarterback's on the move. But we ran a stop route on the outside. And essentially a stop route is 10 yards. You're flying down, you turn around, and the ball's on you because it's a timing thing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Jacob ran a bad route. Like it was a really bad route, mainly because stop routes, and I'm not saying I was great at stop routes. I need to preface it by saying that I clearly could have been better. But you basically have to embrace contact, because if you run away and then throw it, a lot of times the DB can sit on your underneath, and then when the ball gets thrown, it can get picked. Well, he avoids contact, so he goes wide, which makes the throw even further for Deacon Hill. But Deacon was going to throw it because he liked the matchup, throws it, doesn't throw it out far enough to where Bostic is the only one that catches it. It's almost an interception, but you can see Bostic do a normal DB thing and swat the ball out of the DB's hands, because that's a pick 6 if he catches it. So Bostic, even though he ran a bad route, was able to come back and make sure that it didn't get picked, because that would have been obviously points were at a premium. I mean, they always are in Iowa games. I talked about it last week. But just the fact of turning from a receiver into a DB made him like a big time player in that particular instance, even though the route was, could have been better. So Jacob Bostic, number 1. Number 2, Deacon Hill.
Okay.
So they have a great punt. Stops on the 1.5 yard line. And we, for whatever reason, Deacon was having a hard time moving his feet from the guards, whether the guards were moving quick or the centers were moving quick or Deacon was moving slow. It's one of the 3, but he just kept getting stepped on and like falling. So we're on the 1 yard line. He snaps it. It's a run play. He turns. He's almost down. It's basically a safety. And he just lofts the ball to LaShawn Williams because it's not a handoff. Because he's basically falling down and just hucks it like, hey, take it. I'm going down. So just the wherewithal. I want to say he had like 2 inches before his knee hits and he lets go of the ball. LaShawn picks it up, boom, gets like a yard, which doesn't matter. I don't care about the gain. It's the fact that we didn't give up a safety. Because now, granted, 13-12 wouldn't have been bad, but you change how that entire like fourth quarter plays out if that's a safety and we're sitting down 12-10 as opposed to sitting at 10-10. So the fact that Deacon Hill doesn't take the safety and like is able to somehow just thrust it into LaShawn Williams' gut, then, gets out of the end zone. So 2 of those like big time plays that didn't allow points in a game that we knew wasn't going to be a barn burner, but still. So I got Deacon Hill, Jacob Bostic, and you got Torrey Taylor for unsung heroes.
Lots of unsung heroes this week.
I needed them to get to that 10th win.
You know what? We have another unsung hero that's going to be joining us today in studio. I told you I've been trying to get him all season long. We finally got him. Cade McNamara. He's our unsung hero because he's still a leader on the team. Still doing what leaders do and keeping the team in it and doing what he can on the sidelines. So we will be right back with Cade. Need a new roof, gutter, or siding in Eastern Iowa? Call JB Roofing, a local and reliable roofer with over 20 years of experience. They do one roof at a time, unlike others who juggle multiple projects and cut corners. They also serve a 45-mile radius around Kelowna and help you with any insurance claims. Don't wait. Call 319-656-ROOF or visit their website, jbroofingkelowna.com, for a free estimate. JB Roofing, the small town roofer you can trust. Hey, Matt, did you know that Iowa City Tire does more than just tires?
Yeah. I mean, they've been servicing the corridor for like 40 years.
Okay, but did you know that until somebody had to tell you?
No, I didn't.
Well, hey, check out how they're doing things in a very different way at Iowa City Tire and Service, where service actually comes first. Visit ictire.com. Alrighty, he's finally joining us on the podcast. And what better week to be doing it? He did this. All right, everyone, please welcome to Talkin Hawks. It is Cade McNamara. Cade, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for coming on. I'm giving you crap.
Only
because I literally only messaged you twice.
Yeah.
I act like I was like hounding you.
But it's the timeline.
Yeah, it's the timeline. I know. No, we're just so happy you're here.
He said that he would come back on.
Yeah.
Like he reached back out and was like, hey, I'm sorry. I'll come out here.
Yeah, I mean, I had some like kind of serious stuff happen recently. So
what could that have possibly been? Let's think about it. Well, Cade, we're so pumped to have you here.
Yeah.
And this is like the perfect week.
It is.
To have you here too. Iowa taking on Michigan in the Big Ten Championship again. And the last time they were there, this is a whole different story.
I was a bad guy. I was on the dark side last time.
You were on the dark side. Yeah, we did not have a great time at that game.
No.
So thanks a lot for that. Okay, Cade, let's just start. We'll get to the game here in a little while, but let's just start way back at the beginning. Where are you from?
I'm from Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grew up there your whole life?
Whole life. And then really as soon as I got to college, my family moved. They've moved multiple times since. They lived in Nashville, which was my favorite spot that they lived since I've been in college. But then bounced to Texas, where my brothers both go to college now. And then since then, they now live in Tucson, Arizona.
Why did they move so much?
Well, they wanted to be able to make it to all of our games. So they both
ours. So how many siblings?
So I have 2 little brothers, both of which play football at UTEP. So they wanted to make sure that they could still go to their games and my games. So they decided to move to El Paso, which is not the greatest city in the world. Okay. And I think it only took them a year to realize it. So then they moved to Tucson, Arizona, which is 4-hour drive.
That's not bad.
From El Paso. And that is just the greatest vacation on my breaks to get to go back, play golf, 95 degrees. I mean, it's great, but
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And then what was like childhood like living in Nevada? Because being from Iowa and South Dakota, like that feels kind of foreign. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, usually skiing and like winter sports is like
I was expecting.
Yeah, because so everyone always thinks of Vegas when you think of Nevada, and I'm literally like 8 hours from Vegas. Reno's like right, like completely horizontal from Sacramento. So our weather is like Colorado weather. So during the winter, there's snow on the ground, and I mean, Reno's in a bowl of mountains. So I didn't ski too much because I didn't want to get hurt. So, I mean, I basically remember all the summers were spent basically traveling to California for baseball tournaments, football camps, because I mean, Nevada's not really known for, definitely not Reno for sports. And I was always looking for more competition. I'm just trying to really evaluate my own self as to, you know, how can I get better? And then also, you know, what does it look like to be at a higher level? Because honestly, no one ever got recruited out of Reno before I was there. And so really it was just spent kind of traveling over to California all the time. And, but it was a great place to live and grow up.
What'd you do with your younger brothers? Did you beat up on them the whole time? Or
a little bit. I mean, we played wiffle ball. I mean, that was the best thing. Like we would play so much wiffle ball. Anything, ping pong. I mean, everything. I mean, we're 3 competitors. So, I mean, that was just spent our entire childhood just doing that, basically.
Just playing sports.
Playing sports.
Yeah.
So obviously you played baseball, played football, anything else?
Played basketball up until middle school.
Okay. And then at what point did you decide like, okay, football is where I'm headed with this?
Yeah. So my dad actually grew up a baseball coach. So I was, in a dugout when I was like 3 years old and then learned some foul language at a young age. And so I grew up in a baseball house my entire life. And then I just found a niche for football when I started playing tackle football when I was 6 years old. And I played both up until my freshman year of high school. I played, I started on varsity at quarterback, and then I ended up starting on varsity at second base. And then I just realized I was like, after that off season, I was like, I couldn't gain enough weight because some of the guys in my class were already getting offers from USC, from, you know, all the guys that I've been going to camps with, they're getting offers from Pac-12 schools, and I haven't even gotten an offer yet. And I'm like, I'm just as good as these guys, and I don't understand why I'm not getting these offers. One, probably because where I'm from and the competition I'm playing. But two, I mean, I'm playing at 160 pounds, and these guys are 15 years old and they're all weighing 190 pounds. Like I'm not.
That's not everybody, but
I mean, but the guys that I was competing with, I was like, I gotta, you know, I have to be able to gain weight. I have to be able to, you know, and plus I honestly think at that time in my life, I thought football was just more fun. I could be myself more. So I decided, like, you know, if I really want to, you know, take this as seriously as I want to, I just have to go all in on football.
And what was high school football like for you? Like any kind of like big games or big moments that you can remember that you're like, wow, this is it for me. Like, I want to do this more. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, well, first of all, my freshman year was really tough. I mean, the quarterback that I was competing with was an all-conference junior the year before. So we were going back and forth, and it ended up, I mean, a big controversy of like, you know, I thought I was playing better than him, but like they were still giving him a chance. And really the whole school and the whole team wanted him to still be the quarterback. And honestly, I didn't really have many friends because everyone, I mean, the high school quarterback's the most popular kid in school. So, I mean, I'd get my shot, and then the student section would start chanting his name. Like, we want his name. And like, it actually turned out, there actually ended up being like full fights in the stands of like parents, and like they had to escort fans out of the stadium and stuff.
Just because you were playing?
Yeah, just because I was playing, and like people were screaming at me, and I'm 15 years old, and I'm like going back to my dad, and I was like distraught because not only like, I mean, there was a couple times, I mean, I'm a freshman, I'm not going to be dicing it up every single game against guys that are 4 years older than me. So, I mean, there were some games that, you know, I remember 2 games I got pulled, and I was like, because it was, not only did I not play good and I let the team down, but also, you know, I had all those other factors that, you know, it helped me mature a lot.
I can imagine.
But going through all that, the next year was completely different. So my sophomore year, the other guy ended up transferring out, and we ended up winning first conference title in school history, first regional, you know, title in school history.
And this is led by you?
Yeah. So the kind of the most like iconic game, I guess, of my high school career was we were down 31-7 against the 5-time defending regional champs. So like Nevada's split in North and South, and our school had never even been to the Northern Nevada Championship. And we were down 31-7 at halftime, and then we came back and won 49-45. And it was just, the crowd rushed the field, and it was like just a movie. And it was still one of the best days of my life.
Dang. So now you're the popular.
Yeah, so now good popular. And then I ended up started getting offers after that year. And really after that, after my freshman year, we ended up going like 34-3 the rest of my high school career.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. So then from there, it was a lot better after that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's a tough intro to high school football, though.
Yeah, it was.
And the fights in the stands, I'm shook.
So how did now I'm curious, like I've seen other receivers that like hold that against quarterbacks, so they don't try as hard, or they like bat the ball down. Like, did your teammates still try when you were in there? Like, even
I
if they wanted to get the quarterback?
Yeah, because some of them, I mean, I don't think it got to that point where some receivers would do that. I think,
good.
we also weren't like that good. Like I ended up like that year we were 4-6, 4-7. And, like I was buddies with some of the guys, but also he was also their quarterback all through youth football.
So they'd just been boys for a long time.
They just been boys for that long. And I think that's what it created. Well, that was like a big part of all the animosity was just, this is our boy and all this stuff. But I mean, it's not like I came in like thinking it's all about me or anything. Like I just, my attitude was just, I just want to help the team out. And, as a competitor, of course you want to be on the field. So none of that happened, which, that would have been BS, but
right.
But a good thing, like I was buddies with like the best guy on our team. So I was able to throw it to him like every play.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Did you run like a spread style or how would you run?
Complete air raid.
Dope.
Yeah, the best way for, a high school quarterback to play.
I say we did something similar in our state championship game. Our quarterback threw it 63 times.
63.
Yo, we had 3 dudes over 100 yards.
I don't think I've ever thrown it over 60 times in a game.
We ended up losing, but that's not funny.
Sorry.
It's a championship.
Sorry.
We were up 2017, I think, going into the fourth, and then we had 7 or 8 guys go both ways. They didn't have any. Mm-hmm. And so like we just got tired in the fourth quarter and they ended up outlasting us. But 63 is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. How many yards did he ever throw for?
Well, we had 3 guys over 100 in that game. So I don't know if he hit over, I think it was like 415 or something like that.
Really?
I don't know, Chase, you can look that up. Chase Marson.
Max preps.
Yeah. But I mean, so going from that, and then you go to Michigan.
Yep.
Which I guess we can talk about that later, but who all recruited you?
So Pep Hamilton, he was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Michigan. He was the one who came out and did like most of my visits. And then I mean, Coach Harbaugh came out for like my home visit or whatever, but those 2 were really the main ones that recruited me. And then as soon as I got to Michigan, Pep left. He ended up going to the Texans, and he's been there since. He's been the offensive coordinator there. And really, it was kind of just a representation of my career at Michigan. I ended up going through like 4 OCs in 4 years.
My goodness.
Yeah, but those were 2 that recruited me.
What other schools? Or was any other... I mean, I'm assuming Michigan's recruiting you. There's a couple other schools that are in the mix.
Yeah, so I was actually committed to Notre Dame as a junior in high school, and then I decided to decommit. And then it came down to Michigan, USC, which was my dream school growing up, and then Alabama. And then I took visits to all 3, and I ended up going with Michigan.
What was the tipping point?
Honestly, it was my relationship with all the coaches. Okay. I think honestly, that visit just went better than all the other ones.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And then also like, I feel like I wanted to play for a national championship, but the thing with Alabama was I just felt like, they had already been there before. I wanted to go to a school where I can make a difference and I can, hopefully be, the guy who spins it around, and, now Michigan's where they are, and, I feel like I contributed to that a lot. So yeah, kind of a crazy span of events over these last few years.
Well, then you go from an air raid, and although Michigan will throw it a little bit, I mean, they're more of like a power school. Like they want to run the football similar to Iowa.
Yeah, they want.
They just look different doing it. Yeah. The read option, stuff like that. Obviously, you through 4 different OCs. I mean, it's kind of interesting too, and we don't have to go too much on this, but the head coach has a philosophy, but it's kind of how the OC can adapt what they do to what the head coach does. And we don't need to go down further that road, but knowing that, how different was it having to turn the ball and hand it off as often as...
I mean, it was all right. I think, one thing that I didn't have to worry about was putting a run game responsibility on me when I was there. Like I wouldn't get out of many run game plays. Like there were a couple checks by the end of my, Michigan career because I mean, at that point I could handle it.
Sure.
But I mean, I think, I mean, it was tough. I mean, when I first got playing time, we just threw the ball because we were kind of down.
Oh,
usually.
sure.
But then the year that we won the Big Ten, I mean, we kind of changed the whole entire run game system. It became more gap scheme, and
Gotcha.
They've really hung their hat on that since, and it's worked for them.
Yeah. So you come to, I guess, let's just stick on Michigan. Like what was that like? You get there your freshman year, kind of what was it like from when you first got there until obviously you made the decision that you were going to head somewhere else? Kind of explain what that career looked like for you.
Yeah. So I early enrolled. I started at 7th on the depth chart, and then I ended up redshirting my freshman year. We lose to Ohio State, then we lose to Alabama in the Citrus Bowl.
Who would have been the starting quarterback there?
Shea Patterson. So Shea Patterson started, and then there's Joe Milton, and then Dylan McCaffrey, and then I was the 4th string by the end of my freshman year. And then going into the next year was 2020, which was COVID year. There's a 3 quarterback competition, even though they kind of just gave me the 2 reps, and they let Dylan and Joe kind of duke it out for QB1. Me and Joe end up beating out Dylan McCaffrey, and then they give Joe the job going into the season. And then halfway through the season, I ended up beating out Joe. He started 4 games. He played really well against Minnesota, and then he just didn't play as good as he was in camp. And so then I was just kind of chasing him down during practice and everything. And then they threw me in against Wisconsin when we were getting blown out. And then I went down, led a drive. We scored in 4 plays. It was like our only touchdown for the game. And then
I'm sure that looks good.
Yeah. And then it kind of like started, turning things like
Sure.
people are like, oh, like maybe Cade should be playing. And then the next week we go to Rutgers, and we are losing 17-zip quick. I mean, the fact that Michigan's losing to Rutgers at home, on the road, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is bad. So they throw me in. We end up coming back and winning in triple overtime. And then they announced me starter after that game. We play the next game is Penn State. Second drive of the game, I separate my AC. And
Throwing shoulder?
Throwing shoulder. Couldn't believe it. So I go back, I get shot up, and I try and play the rest of the game. And then by the 4th quarter, I couldn't move my arm from my rib cage. So then they announced me starter going into the 21 season. I start the entire season, then we go win a Big Ten. And then, they would put in, they would mix in JJ a little bit, but I was a starter through. And then 2022 was just kind of a weird year. I don't really want to get into kind of the specific details of it, but
of course, it's whatever you feel comfortable with, man.
Yeah. So then, we end up splitting some time. He gets the job. I end up getting hurt in one of those games. There's a contact injury, and then waited out to see if everything would heal itself, and it didn't. So then went to LA to Dr. Elatrosh, and he was able to, fix me up. And then at that point, I kind of knew, he had been starting the entire year that, I think it's time for me to move on. And that whole span, like that right before, I went into the portal, and then that was kind of the craziest span of really my entire life, I feel like, because I decided to transfer. I go and do rehab and do surgery in California. And I hadn't decided where I wanted to go yet once I was in the portal, but I lived in this abandoned warehouse in Southern California.
What?
Because I wasn't getting like scholarship checks anymore. And I was one of my guys, I work out with Jordan Palmer, and he knows a guy that I know from just, going down there so often. And I was like, hey, like, do you have a place I can stay while I'm down there? Because I wanted to do my rehab with, in LA from where I did my surgery.
Sure.
And he's like, dude, like, I don't have a spot, but you can live here and it's free. And I'm like, all right, I'll take it. So I step into this place, and I'm like, holy cow, it's a completely abandoned warehouse. I go to Costco before surgery, buy a mattress, and just have like 2 totes of my stuff. And I have everything from Michigan in my truck, basically, because I had to drive from Michigan all the way down because I didn't have a car. I couldn't rent a car. I was wasn't, you have to like be like 25 years
Oh,
old
yeah.
to run a car or whatever. So I'm staying in this abandoned warehouse, just literally going to rehab and back.
And you can't really move.
Can't move. Like I was in a straight leg brace for a couple weeks. And thankfully, like my mom was able to stay with me and like help me like eat, because I wouldn't be able to cook or go out. And it was my right leg at the time. Can't drive a car because my leg is straight. So that was the first.
What?
It was insane. And then I ended up watching the Big Ten championship Michigan won it again. I was watching that from just by myself in this warehouse. Yeah, with my dog. And then,
your dog.
Yep. So Grizz was there. But then my brothers ended up, once their school and season ended, they decided to come and just live with me for like the rest of the.
Did they also go to Costco and buy other mattresses so y'all could like?
So they just had their own office room. And then we just had everyone had their own bedroom basically, because it was a bunch of offices. And it was insane. So then after that, I mean, I drove all the way to Michigan, pick up some more stuff, and then drove to Iowa. And then I just continued my rehab here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've never heard that story before. Have you told that story?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, other than the people who just kind of know me and what.
Yeah.
So how long? Hold on. How long did you live in this abandoned warehouse? Like timeline wise, you say so it would have been middle of the year?
No, so it was after. So surgery was November 9th.
Okay.
So it was probably about the 15th or 16th of November all the way to the first week of January.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you could barely live with me in my place for like a month.
No, I couldn't do it.
Two of my football buddies and I for 30 days.
It might as
She
well
came home
been.
crying every day.
It might as well be an abandoned warehouse.
It's not even close.
The way they kept
No
it.
AC, no.
It was
heat,
great. It's on
nothing.
it's on Triangle Plates, right next to the stadium.
You had no AC and no heat.
No, the fridge barely worked. Like you'd have to throw stuff out every 2 days. It was.
Oh my gosh. So when your mom came and stayed with you, did she stay in there with you?
Yeah, she did.
What a mother.
My goodness.
Oh, she's
Couldn't
the
have
best.
done it without her.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
She's a saint. Yeah.
My goodness.
So she stayed with you for how long? Just to help you like rehab from after surgery?
Basically, once I could walk.
Okay.
So after about 2.5 weeks.
So what did you do for food when you couldn't walk?
Well, my mom was there too.
Oh, she was there.
She
Okay.
was there during that period
Until
to help
she
me. And then
Until he could walk.
Yeah.
So
Understood.
then I could at least like sit in the car for like 5 minutes and drive down to, I couldn't do a grocery store run. So I just kind of ate. They have this place called Board and Brew, which is, I lived off Board and Brew.
Oh my God.
Lunch and dinner basically was Board and Brew for that entire time.
Was it decent food?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, well, at least it was good.
You go down there, you have to. It's in Orange County. It's the best sandwich spot ever.
All right.
Board and Brew.
Okay, well, what was the go-to then?
The Turcado.
I knew you were right off the top.
Turcado.
Okay.
Turkey, avocado.
Turkey, avocado, lettuce, and then the Board and Brew, the secret sauce. Just throw that on there too.
Nice.
That was my stuff.
That was the silver lining, Board and Brew.
Board and Brew. That was a highlight of that. But I mean, it ended up being, crazy. I would end up walking down once I was able to walk.
Yeah.
Then like the three of us, me and my brothers, we'd go down to the San Clemente Pier and we'd walk and get coffee. We'd take our dogs down there because all three of us had dogs. So all three dogs and all three boys were in this place. It was a mess. And then, we'd wake up at like 6 a.m. every day just because we could. And then just go down there, get a cup of coffee, walk the beach, and then come back and just go. I'd go to rehab. Then they'd probably like take a nap or something. And then we'd all go work out at like 24-hour fitness and then call it a day every single day.
I can't imagine the conversations Miss McNamara had to have. Like, where are your boys? They're in an abandoned warehouse in like California. My son can barely walk, but he can, so they're all out there.
I know.
Like,
it
that's
was nuts.
wild.
Yeah, but she helped me out so much during that period of my life. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. The mentality too has to be kind of tough, right? Where, like you said, you're sitting there by yourself with your dog watching this Big Ten championship of a team that you were just on.
Yeah.
And then along with the injury, along with like your surroundings. Kind of
And you don't know where you're going at that point? Or did you?
Yeah, I hadn't. Well, I entered the portal after the Ohio State game.
Okay.
And then I committed shortly after that. I didn't want to be in the portal that long. Yeah. So I think I was committed or I wasn't at the time. I don't really remember, but
yeah.
Sorry.
So how did you, like, where was your headspace? How did you keep yourself out of like a depressed rut, honestly? I mean, I don't think the average person could probably handle the weight of what you were going through at that point. Like what kind of kept you going?
I mean, it was just a lot of motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, just adversity is a good thing. It is a really good thing. And I had seen a lot of, my whole career has just been kind of up and down, success and adversity, just going up and down. And I mean, that was by far the most adversity I've ever faced in my life. I mean, of course, like there's gonna be times where I'm, like, oh man, this is tough. Like there are times there are times that I thought that, and there were times, but I think that's what made it, so good, was that I was able to deal with that, and I was able to use it as motivation and fuel and energy going into really the off season. And I mean, I smoked the rehab, and then I got to Iowa, and then my workout regimen was completely different. I changed my diet. I changed so many things in my life, all because of that circumstance. And I mean, I ended up losing like 5% body fat over the course of like 4 months. And like, I completely changed myself over the course of that time. And I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's gone full circle. And then here I am again, injured. And now my own team is playing Michigan in the Big Ten championship, and I can't do anything about it because honestly, once I committed to Iowa, this game was like the only thing I dreamed of. It was just being able to play this game and for the Big Ten championship against them. And, it's just another period of my life that I'm just, dealing with adversity, but at the same time using it as really good motivation.
Well, I think there's, like you said, you can't do anything. Like on the field, I think that's clear. Yeah. But I think being able to see a lot of the stuff now, Laura gets to go to the games. I take care of the 2 kids, so I get like the TV, side of things, and they'll show you, like if Deacon does something, like they'll show you. You got the headset on, you're talking. And I think that experiences can create what you've become. Yeah. Part of it. You just talked about how much your life has changed. But I think there's something to being able to be engaged and to train the guys that are having to step in.
Absolutely.
Like this is like you think about all the different stuff, like Deacon's a sophomore, right? So he's a young guy, transferred from Wisconsin. So this is not his first like spot. He's kind of in the same situation you were. And now you're having to walk him through how everything goes, even though he took some of the spring reps, right? I don't know if you took.
I took like 7-on-7 and stuff like that.
He took some spring. So like, but he had to take a lot of those reps. So like how, like, not that you want to be Coach Cade yet, that part of your life has not started, but you kind of get in a role of like, okay, how can I become that guy?
Absolutely.
And so now next year when you're on the field, it's like, I know everything.
Yeah.
Right. So like, how do you get Deacon to that point and like see how your role has changed? Because I do agree, you can't do anything on the field to change that.
Right.
But I think you're doing enough off the field, and at least optically, you can see like growth in Deacon over the last couple of weeks. And I can't say that that's just Coach Brian Ferentz. Like, don't get me wrong, coaches do everything they can, but that doesn't mean that you also haven't already had an impact.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not going to take credit for, the amount of growth he's had, but I mean, this entire time it's been, I haven't missed him. I had to get surgery in California. That's the only time I missed anything. I mean, I've been in every meeting, been at every practice, and I've been just really doing everything I possibly can to help out the team, and specifically Deacon, because I mean, me and him have a really good relationship, and obviously I have a lot more experience than he does. So I'm just trying to do literally everything I possibly can to help him out. And it's kind of a weird balance because it's like, there are a lot of things, like I could tell him so many different things, but there's also he also has to figure it out himself sometimes. And I think, I'm able to help. Like what I really like helping him out with is like what it really means to be the starting quarterback. Like the things like that you didn't know you signed up for until you're in the spotlight. And I think, he's done a really good job of navigating those things. And because until you're in that position, you don't know, like you really don't. And it's a tough situation. And I think, I'm just trying to help him out as much as I possibly can.
Right.
But as a young guy, like there's some things that I had to figure out on my,
Right.
and those are really good lessons for him to learn. And I think he's grown a ton over the course of this season.
100%.
So, I mean, these are all valuable reps and everything for the rest of his career too.
Oh man. Okay. So let's see. You're in watching the Big Ten championship from the warehouse.
Sorry, took you on a tangent there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's just go back a little bit. So that transfer portal, that experience. So when we were talking to Eric, we had him on like a few weeks back and he said it was crazy. He's like, my phone was blowing up. It's kind of like, there's no rules. It feels like, and it's like people have your number and like all your contact information and you're just getting calls. He's like, my phone was just ringing all the time. Like, what was that experience like for you? And you've got, and just like Eric, like you've got some tape. So this isn't like a mystery of what you can do or who could use you. So what was that experience like and how did you juggle that?
Yeah. Well, I think it was easier in the sense that like in high school, you're like for me, I was always worried about, or has this coach seen my film? Have they at least seen me? Because as long as they see my film, I'm confident that they would want me. But I mean, it's a completely different situation because college, like they've all seen, everyone sees kind of everyone around college football. And I mean, for me, same thing. It was nuts. I mean, as soon as you enter the portal, then boom, every coach in America has your cell phone and you really have to prioritize your time because I think of course, like I'm thinking about, when I was thinking about leaving and when I was, you don't just wake up overnight and decide to transfer, so I mean, I was able to think about, what are some possibilities, what place would be cool? What, where can I see myself here or there? Of course you're going to think about those things. So I think once I was actually in the position of once I was in the transfer portal, I mean, a lot of the thinking and stuff, I mean, I kind of knew like some of the areas that, that I'd prioritize my time to, like some places that, like thought about this school and this school, like if they hit me up, like, yeah, I'm gonna take that call. And like some other schools, you're just be like, yeah, like, I'm probably not, like, I'm honestly not going to be considering you guys, but thank you for the call. Right. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that of, letting go of some people and some contacts, but at the same time, having to just balance like because you could literally be on your phone calling and texting people all day. And that is just, I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's like a business at that point.
Yeah, it is. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy.
Were you, and I don't know if you've already talked about this before, but what were some other schools you were considering if you're comfortable?
I mean, I know Notre Dame hit me up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Kentucky a little bit. I mean, to be honest, like Iowa was a school that I was considering before. Sure. But once I got into the portal and Iowa hit me up, I was pretty fired up because I was like, this is a school that I think has a chance. And we were looking at a couple different schools but I mean, you can't mess it up once you're in a portal because you only get that one shot. So, I mean, obviously factors of, playing time, job security, I mean, opportunity, for the team and everything, all those are huge factors. And, not every school has those opportunities, and I was happy to choose Iowa.
So when last year, I remember I'm at almost all the basketball games and you would come to a few during your official visits and stuff, but and then it was kind of like rumored, like, oh, Cade might come to Iowa. There's a ton of like excitement around this. And then I see you like walk in and I was like texting Matt. I'm like, Cade's here. He's here. He's at the game. He's sitting in front of Brian. I can see him. Cause you kind of sit, the recruits and obviously transfer guys kind of sit near where I am. And so that was like super exciting. You've already got people walking up to you. You haven't really even committed yet. People are just pumped that you're here. And then after you decided you committed, I had seen you at a ton of like wrestling meets and basketball games. Like you were to me and like the optics of it, right? Like don't know you personally, haven't really talked to you, but showing up to all that stuff, like it was like you were making this really big effort to be ingrained in the university because going back to what you said about Deacon knowing like what comes with the territory of being QB1, like was it because, and I think I can probably assume this, but that that like you're representing more than just yourself and just the football team. Right. Like it's on a national stage when you're talking about college football. Like you are representing the University of Iowa in a lot of different ways. Was that kind of part of your, like, you wanted to be known as like, yeah, I'm going to be at these games. I'm going, like, I am an Iowa Hawkeye now. Was that kind of your thought process, or you just like basketball?
Well, the thing is, like, something that really was important to me was, like, once I got to Iowa, I didn't want to be the Michigan guy. I wanted to be the Iowa guy.
Yep.
And really, like, my motivation to go on all those things, of course, like, I understand, like, the platform I have, and you know, like, that was an awesome experience on my official visit. Like, when I walked in and the stadium, like everyone kind of knew who I was at that time. And I mean, it was a great welcoming into the Iowa fan base and everything, which was awesome. But I mean, for me, like, personally, I just wanted to immerse myself in as much Iowa stuff as I possibly could, whether it was wrestling matches, men's basketball games, women's basketball games. I was trying to go to everything I possibly could and just spend, like, as much time with my new teammates as I could. And I mean, I remember the O-line always has, like, these get-togethers, and I remember, like, basically no one goes to them other than the O-line, and I was like, hey, like, can I come to some of these? They're like, yeah, sure. I mean, no one comes to these, but I just, like, I remember, like, I didn't even know any of them, and I just sat there and I was just, like, trying to chop it up with them a little bit, because I'm just like, I mean, that was my motivation, was I just wanted to be, you know, how fast can I be a Hawkeye, and while at the same time just trying to just know as much as I possibly could about Iowa, and just, you know, trying to surround myself with as much as I could.
What kind of get-togethers was the O-line having? Because something tells me they're doing weird stuff.
For the last, like, couple months, we've been sitting around playing board games, which is insane, but a bunch of grown men playing board games with each other, and it gets intense.
We always played euchre.
Well, the reason I asked too is because when he was playing, we had the Paulsons, they were twins, both on the line, and they did a crawfish boil.
Oh,
yes.
So good.
And it was like awesome. A ton of guys.
One of my favorite.
Yeah.
Ones.
And a ton of guys got together, and they shipped them in, like, overnight from Louisiana.
Yeah. They did it right.
Yeah.
And Levi, shout out.
It was so good. Yeah. And so I was like, what other kind of weird stuff do they have going on? Because a lot of those O-lineman guys are like small town, country, Iowa dudes. Yeah.
Actually, last time, Kale Crow, shout out to Kale, he and Rusty went pheasant hunting, and then Kale cooked up pheasant stew and gave it to everyone.
Nice.
Which was cool.
Is that the first time you ever had pheasant? Or
first time I've ever had pheasant.
That's pretty good.
Really good. I mean, it just tastes like chicken. So it was good.
That works.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah. So totally ingrained in the kind of like Hawkeye experience, Hawkeye culture. How would you kind of explain, or how would you maybe compare, like, the Michigan culture, not just the football program, but Michigan sports, athletic programs, fan base in comparison to Iowa? Like, two different feelings, or is it all just kind of like college football fans, sports fans?
Honestly, I think it's completely different.
Okay.
There's a lot of different, I mean, this feeling, we sell out. I mean, I was shocked because I went to some wrestling events and some gymnastics events at Michigan too. But I mean, what blew my mind was my first wrestling match here. I was like, these people are nuts.
Who are they wrestling?
I don't know.
It was huge. It was Michigan. You came to the Michigan one for sure. But I mean, they're nuts at every single one. But
yeah, I mean, I ended up going to like a bunch of them because I was like,
they're hype.
And I mean, they got like the fire blowing, like, I'm like, this is insane. And then I went to a women's basketball game.
Fire.
I'm like, this is nuts too. So I ended up going to like all these sporting events, and I was like, I mean, Michigan and their culture, like, they have their own completely different thing. But I think, you know, obviously I'm not going to, talk bad about that at all.
Oh yeah, no,
just, I just think it's,
you got pro teams up there, which is obviously different than Iowa too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I mean, we all know like that Iowa wrestling and Iowa women's basketball is like second to none. Mm-hmm. So I think from those being some of my first experiences with the fan base and everything, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a pro team different than, Detroit. You got, the Lions, you got the Tigers, and you know,
the Pistons. Like, you got
the Pistons,
all kinds
and then
of
the Red Wings. It's just, it's different here because this is all we got.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are going to be Cubs fans or Chiefs fans. Like, like it's either there or there. Mm-hmm. But everyone here is a Hawkeye fan with the exception of the Cyclones. So yeah, it's awesome.
So first time coming out in Kinnick, first swarm, first back in black. Describe it if you can.
I mean, I had the best experience ever because Joe so usually before I got to Iowa, I made sure that I always walked out last, no matter what, ever since high school, even when I was at Michigan. I just want to make sure, I always, I consider myself a leader, and my teammates, I'm pretty confident that they see me that way too. And I just wanted to make sure the way I just did it to represent that I have their backs no matter what. And I told Joe, I'm like, dude, like, I understand about the swarm, but this is what I usually do. So, but he's like, no.
You're talking about Joe Evans, right?
Joe Evans. Yeah. Joe Evans is like by far my best friend for life. Like, that's my boy. And he told me, he's like, no, like, I want you to be at the very front on your first swarm. And I mean, I remember I was like first one out of the locker room, and we're walking down, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And like throwing my first pass as a Hawkeye being a touchdown was not even close to as cool as the swarm to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought like I've thrown touchdowns before, been on the field before a million times, but for that being my first swarm, that is like one of the coolest moments of my life. Like, we're just walking down, like the boys are just, you can't hear anything. You just see the camera. But then like, as you turn the corner, you start to hear it, the back in black playing, and then you finally step out, and like the crowd goes crazy plus it's game one. So like everyone's going crazy, and it's just like one of the coolest experiences of my life. I mean, I remember I looked at Joe, I was like, dude, it's just all worth it. Mm-hmm. Everything I've gone through, everything that we've done, it was just, in that moment, it was just all worth it.
Dang,
like,
chills.
Yeah, this is so cool.
That's crazy. All right, talk to me about Coach Ferentz.
Coach Ferentz. I love Coach Ferentz, and I think everyone feels the exact same way as I do.
That's the exact reason I asked you that question.
Everyone loves Coach Ferentz, and whether you're a hobo in the middle of Iowa, I think you love Coach Ferentz too. I mean, for me, like every day I'm inspired by him. I think everyone in that program like takes his word as gospel, that we are trying to listen and learn as much as we possibly can from Coach Ferentz every single day. And I think now that I've been here for a decent amount of time now, like he has like these little things of like, what he says at practice, he has like the same old sayings and stuff, and they just crack me up. Like some of the guys, like I remember me and Eric on our first team meeting together, everyone, like Coach Ferentz is like kind of making like these dry little jokes and like, just saying like kind of the same old thing, I guess. And me and Eric just had the biggest smiles on our face because this is our first time hearing it. Mm-hmm. And we were like, this is freaking awesome. And we have like so many team meetings, and Coach Ferentz always has just an awesome speech, like every single time. And like they just fire me up so much every single time. And I mean, like guys like Nico and Joe, they've had these same speeches for 6 years, but like I can't get enough of them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like even when I was still healthy, like Coach Ferentz coaches just the shit out of the O-line, and just is on him.
Yeah, he's always over there
all day, yelling at him at practice, just all in on coaching the O-line. And every single Wednesday I go and watch him coach the tackles, and the tackles are just, they just know the perfect rep doesn't exist when Coach Ferentz is watching, because he has something about every single rep. And I watch this drill every single week, and it's just one of my favorite parts of practice is that I'm able to just sit there and watch Coach Ferentz just coach his balls off to these tackles. And there's just the most brutal drill for them, because they have just a one-on-one drill, and they have to, usually the defender has a two-way go, and literally like if you stop the guy, it's not enough. Like your technique is wrong. And just so many different things about him. I just love it. And then now like watching, like as we've won a couple, big games, just the emotion and the passion that he has. He
tries to hide it, but
he can't. Because at this point, like even when guys, like once he starts getting choked up a little bit, like the guys, like now,
Everyone starts
like
yelling.
everyone starts cheering.
Yes.
Everyone starts
You want
cheering.
it,
Yeah,
yes.
because we're like, just cry, just do it. And then he finally does it. Everyone starts throwing the water around and everything. And it's just like, it just doesn't get old. It does not. And I just like, I'm so honored and so happy that I get to, you know, not just experience being a player here, but just to be coached by Coach Ferentz. Like whatever I do, I just hope I don't let him down. Like that would be like my number one fear. It's like, look, I just cannot disappoint Coach Ferentz. It would kill me if I let that man down.
What's funny about that is Eric said the exact same thing you just said. Like that line, I don't want to let him down.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. That's crazy. Oh man, heartwarming. Love to hear it. That's why I asked you that question, because it's like every single guy we have on here would say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And that's one of his big things too, which I've seen in Matt, is like, we want you to win games. Like that's great. And that's what we're here for. But a lot of what we're here for and most of what we're here for is for you to be a better person and a better man.
Yeah.
Right. And so like,
He makes that known too.
it's
You know,
so cool.
all the coaches, and you know, you just grow so much from that, and it gives
Along the way, you'll win.
Yeah.
If the culture's right.
Yeah. And that's like, that's what we care about. We care about the culture, and he has built that thing. The foundation on this culture is just, it's 20 years of culture, and it's special for a reason.
And so you've seen this team take some hits, right?
Yeah.
Like you obviously, Eric, Cooper, Luke.
Yeah.
And just little injuries that a lot of people don't even know about, right? Where you've got the AC joints or the this or the that, right? That aren't public and you can still play through, but it takes a toll, especially by the end of the year in these Big Ten games.
Yeah.
But we've seen next man in, right? Whoever you go down, all right, whoever's going to come in, like figure it out. And somehow, some way you guys have won 10 games. How has this happened? What have you seen that's like, this team is special? And how have you really gotten to this point with the hits that you've taken? There's not many teams that can make it happen.
Yeah. Just the resiliency of this team.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how comfortable we are in close games. And I remember like, I was so upset after Iowa State because I was like, we should have smoked that team. But they're just like, you know, like
That's the way
sometimes
you
that's
win?
just the way it is here, that it's just tight for no reason. And then we just end up winning every single time. Like it's just close games after close games. And like, even against like some of the lower competition, like it's still close games. It's like, doesn't have to be like this every time, but
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But I think, you know, the fact we should be at 11 wins. Like the fact that this team, like
That was an invalid win.
Somehow we just find a way to win, and it is just unbelievable that we've made it this far. And people aren't even like like there are guys on the team that like haven't played in like a couple games, but just because they're not season-ending injuries, like no one talks about them. Because what sucks is that there's been so many season-ending injuries on our team. You know, like think of like, you know, guys who haven't even played last week. You know, like our starting center, like Logan Jones, like Deontay Vines, like, and like, but then it's like Caleb Brown steps up, has a huge game, and then Tyler Ellsbury goes in for Lojo, and he's holding the fort down in the middle of the O line. You know, it's just like stuff like that. Like as you mentioned, like people probably don't even notice that because there's so many season-ending injuries that's like, oh, that person's like literally done for the year. You're not going to see him again, you know? So, but the fact that we just continually find a way to win is just unbelievable. And I think it's just really just because of the culture that we have. It's just the confidence and just knowing that, you know, if there's time on the clock, we still have a chance.
I feel like this team, and I don't know how much you know of like older Iowa teams, and I know that you said I don't look that old and I appreciate it, but like kind of washed up, is like this team reminds me of the 2015 Iowa team that went 12-0 in the regular season, because we had a lot of those next man in guys. Yeah. We didn't have any like quote unquote superstars. Like that team had one 7th rounder get drafted after the season. Yeah. Austin Blythe, he ended up playing for like 7 years. But like our Tavon Smith goes down and a true freshman, Jermanique Smith, has to come in against Wisconsin. Our top 3 running backs go down. Akram Wadley comes in, rushes for 4 touchdowns against Northwestern. But all those games were really close. Like we're playing Nebraska and we win 28-20. And we've like, there's no reason that this should have been a one-score game. Parker Hesse, who's a freshman D end, has a pick 6. There's no reason he should even be in the game at that time. But like, it's the way that KF coaches and the way that I think Meter.
Yep.
Cheapers. Yes. So like, I think his quote kind of says the best. I think I read that he said that at Iowa, you always feel like you're in it.
Yeah.
And you always feel like you're ready for your opportunity.
Yep.
Like he hasn't kicked a ball since he missed an extra point last year against Central Michigan or against Eastern Michigan at Central Michigan, and goes out and kicks a game winner because he's ready. Like it's like that kind of feeling is what I feel right now. And so I feel good going into the game, and you don't have to talk about that, but like just the fact that KF's been doing this for so long and has that kind of foundation kind of speaks more to your point of like, you've only been in it for a year, but like he's been doing it for 24.
I know.
That's what's wild.
That's what's insane to me too. It's just because it's like, for us, it's like going through all these experiences. It's like, holy cow, like, I can't believe we won this game. I can't believe this is the way it happened. But like, I can't imagine like he has that much experience as a head coach, not just as as any kind of level of coach. So I'm like, what have like anything that happens on that field, like he's seen that before, you know, like that for me, that shocked me. But for him, he's just like,
he'd probably just take a little note on his quad real quick. Let me write this down for time.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's insane.
That's the craziest thing too, I think, about him is like, he doesn't react.
No.
It'd be like trick play, touchdown. He's like,
well, you gotta get the wrist cocked back.
It's like, yeah, that looks that worked like I thought it would. Moving on. That's awesome. Okay, so this week, this is big. Going into the Big Ten Championship. What are you doing with kind of your new assumed role, right? With rehabbing and everything. Like, how are you kind of trying to prepare Deacon without going into much like game detail, obviously, but how are you trying to prep him for kind of a big time stage?
Yeah. Well, I think this week specifically, I'm not just getting Deacon ready. I'm getting the entire team as much as I can, because I mean, I know so much about that other team.
Yeah.
That from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, I'm just doing everything I possibly can from an entire team standpoint to just let these guys know everything that I possibly know. And, you know, obviously with Deacon specifically, I'm able to help them out with, you know, some schematics that they run and some things that they might try and do. But also at the same time, just I've also played in this game before. So for me to also, I haven't talked to him yet about that stuff yet, because there's a process to the week too. I mean, there's, you know, information overload at the beginning of the week. I mean, especially these, and then, I mean, tomorrow will be kind of a slow day of practice, kind of a mental day, and his wheels will be turning a little bit, just like everyone else on the offense. But then Tuesday and Wednesday that's the workload days. So, but then once it comes Thursday and it's like the off day, that's when you start emotionally preparing for the game. And I think, you know, once we get to that point, then I'll be able to share some of my experience with them and playing in this game specifically. But for the most part, like at the beginning of the week, I'm trying to do, you know, I'm just trying to help him out from what he's going to see on the field, you know, some looks, some, you know, even if it's personnel, you know, stuff like that. Like I'm able to, any which way I can possibly help this week, I'm doing it. So this week, I mean, it feels like I'm playing this week, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is a big one. I'm excited for you guys. Yeah. And then just the experience in Indianapolis, kind of take me through that as you're getting ready for a game like this.
Yeah, it's sweet. I mean, it's weird because it's like a bowl game because no one has home field advantage.
Right.
But I mean, you don't have to worry about a home or away locker room. The locker rooms are both nice.
That's a fact.
You know, because some of the teams in the Big Ten, you have to worry about like, oh man, this locker room stuff. You know, but I mean, everyone will have a nice locker room, and I mean, the way they do it in the league, I mean, it's sweet. Like everything from the turf there specifically to everything is sweet there. So I think, you know, playing for a championship is important. I think, you know, this is the reason why you play is for games like this. And there is not going to be any lack of energy. There's not going to be any lack of focus, you know? And I think it's just at this point, there's nothing you can change, you know, like that's the best part about, you know, playing an entire season. Like at the beginning of the year, you're trying to find your identity. You're trying to, you know, see if like we can make this click or, you know, or who's this guy going to be, or, you know, stuff like that. But like once it comes down to like the games like this, or even last week, it's like we know who we are, we know who they are. Now let's just lace them up and let's just get after it, and that's the best part.
All right.
I think there's it's kind of an interesting feel between you and Eric because you've been in this game and you've won it, but there's a lot of guys on the team that were on the other side of that, and knowing that they earned another opportunity to get to this point, I feel like that's another motivation that they can feed off of. Knowing that like, hey, that wasn't us. Like we had that in the Rose Bowl when we got smacked by Stanford. Like that wasn't us. It just wasn't our game. And so now they've been there. They know what that's like. You can give a little bit more on like what it's like to go in there and handle that environment. And now you get to pass that along to people that have been there so you can help get them there. Like that's a pretty cool thing in my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's weird because it's like, I had Jay coming up and talking to me. He's like, did you like have an incomplete pass? You know, like in 2021, I'm like, honestly, I don't think I had any, but I mean, it's just weird because it's like, even Coop came up to me. He's like, dude, it's just weird seeing you like I'm watching film of you, you know, like, and for me, like I'll probably turn it on at some point this week is just try and watch that game of when I played in it. But it's also just weird because it's like, you know, like I'm literally on the opposite side of where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, as cool as that experience was for me 2 years ago, like my best friend, like literally lined up against me, Joe. Mm-hmm. And like he had obviously everyone else had a completely different experience than I did of who I'm teammates with now. And I think, you know, it's just a crazy circumstance.
I will say there's one play that's burned into my skull, and it's the touchdown to the one-handed catch of Eric All over Dane Belton. That one's like burned in because that one hurts. But I'm excited to see that flip for this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, I thought that was like the dagger. I thought. Once we that's it. But then that's both of us now over here. You know, it's just crazy. Because I mean, I guarantee you, once that play was over, I bet. Hey, Eric, you ever think that Cade would be throwing you a pass in that uniform?
Right?
Like, no
kidding.
You know, it's crazy how far. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool week. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you've talked about kind of the ups and downs of your career, right? And it's not that you've just like hit some peaks, like they've been peaks, right? Like playing at one of the highest levels in college football, winning the championship, going right, like the highest. And now you're like the injured, right? Where you're kind of like, all right, now I got to build myself back up. Mm-hmm. Like what is going to take you and take this Iowa team next year kind of back to this point? And where does your motivation stand with that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, now that I'm hurt, you know, I can only think about what is it going to be like when I touch the field again. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think I was able to apply myself, and like I think my teammates have a really good understanding for who I am now and what I'm able to bring to the team, and when I'm healthy, what I can bring to the team too. And I think, I mean, it just sucks because like that was the most healthy I'd felt all season. I mean, the first drive, we go right down the field and like so fast. And then it was like, finally, like this is what it's supposed to look like. Because like I'm able to move around a little bit. You know, guys are, you know, like we're getting to the right spots. And we had like a couple weird mistakes at the end that was the reason why we kicked the field goal. But like the momentum of that drive was like, this is what we've been chasing. And I think everyone, you know, there's been some really, I mean, of course there's been awesome drives, you know, but I haven't experienced them for the rest of the year, but I know everyone who's on the field with me on that drive knew what that felt like. That, you know, we came out just bang, bang, bang. I think I went like 4 for 5 on the first drive. And, you know, I was like, yes, like finally this is what it's supposed to look like. And this is how it's, you know, when you feel just every single play, like you just get the call and run it and it's executed. Like that's when you know, like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be run. So, I mean, for me, it's the chases of how can we get there on game one, which is, it's always really hard to do because, I mean, I feel like especially us, this team, like we've gotten so much better over the course of the year. And so I think of like, how fast can we get to that next year, you know, earlier? And I think, that's my motivation. Obviously, my motivation is how can I just literally never leave the field? I mean, before all this, I've never been a person to get hurt ever. Like I had one contact injury, which is why I had to have surgery. And then I have 2 non-contact injuries, which is the first time in my life I've ever had those. So I want to make sure, there's no way I leave the field next year. That's for me. I just want to be on the field. That's all I care. Like from a personal standpoint, I just have to make sure I'm healthy enough to stay on the field. Yeah. Where, I think from an offensive standpoint, obviously we're going to have a new coordinator next year. So there's a lot of unknowns as to, what the scheme is going to look like or what that's going to look like. But, I know I think what really excites me is obviously we're going to have a lot of guys coming back on offense specifically and I think the maturity and the growth that we've had over the course of this year from not just like how much better everyone's playing, but also like the mentality of everyone of, we're never out of the fight, like, and, expecting every game to win, even when we lost, like we went to that game expecting to win. And I think those things are huge. And I think for us, and you were still there,
in that game.
Yeah. And I think for us to be able to build on those things and, especially, I mean, here we are again in the Big Ten championship, there's still going to be a Big Ten championship next year, so we got to chase that one too, it never ends.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Before we go to, I noticed the cross that you have on your bracelet and on your necklace. What role does faith play in your journey?
Faith has been a big part of my life. And I think really very recently, my dad actually gave me this pennant on here. This was the day of his baptism that his grandma gave him. And then he had it, he was able to give it to me. So he gave each of my brothers one, something very similar. And once he gave me that, I was super happy because I was like, wow, like this is I haven't gotten it's not like, I feel like usually it's like maybe like a watch or like something like, something that your dad hands down to you, like, hey, it's finally for you to take this. Or I remember maybe it's like, if my dad was in the military, then it's like maybe a medal or something. I don't know, but this is what he gave me. And, it means a lot to me that he gave me it. But I think faith for me is just like a continuous journey. And I think as I've matured and as I'm definitely not the Christian, like I want to be like better, like just like a better football player. Like I want to be a better Christian too. Like it's that's how I kind of see like how athletics plays into it is that, there's success and adversity in life and there's success and adversity in sports. And like, usually like when you're a college athlete, those are intertwined. Like you're an athlete. Like that's, we usually don't deal with like off the field, like adversity that much, like, because all of our time and effort is spent in the sport. So anything like anything like for me, like, of course, like, I guess if I rolled my ankle or something and I wasn't playing football, like that would be like adversity or something. But like my adversity within the last 2 years has come from football, so that's what I'm just been really working on is like, I'm trying to get better as, a football player, but how also can I get better at being a Christian? And I think, going through these up and downs and constant, I think me relying on my faith and, trying to become more faithful has been a good escape while also been a really good outlet for me to go to when, stuff really gets tough. And then, at some point, every valley, is in between 2 mountains, otherwise it wouldn't be a valley. And, right now I'm in the middle of a valley and, I'm sure, God has a mountain in front of me of success that, when it comes time, for me to see some of that, then I'll give thanks. But, right now he's helping me through some adversity.
So good. So good. Oh my gosh. So many good, little tidbits for young athletes too, to listen to as well. Well, Cade, thank you so much. And I go back to what you said, just going into next year, not wanting to leave the field. I know Hawkeye fans don't want you to leave the field either. The way that place erupted when you threw your first pass in Kinnick Stadium, game 1, was like unlike anything I've seen in quite a while. And I've been doing it for 8 years. And that was just such it was like a breath of fresh air to see somebody like you come in and really commit to being a Hawkeye and put the jersey on and go out there and perform. So we're so excited to see you come back, and obviously to help the Hawks this weekend too when they go to Indianapolis. So we can't wait.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in and just taking the time. And I know this is a very important week, so we will let you get back to your prep and your rehab, of course. And again, we can't wait to see you back in the Hawkeye jersey.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
This season, Marquee Pizzeria is teaming up with Nico Reganey to help the University of Iowa Children's Hospital. Together, they've created a new signature pizza, the Nico Parm. Sounds so good. $2 of every pizza will be donated to the Children's Hospital. Visit Marquee Pizzeria, located in the Coralville River Landing, this fall and help the kids by eating pizza. The Bugman Pest Control. Rest easy when you have the Bugman's top-rated defense protecting your home and business, providing maintenance and prevention treatments for any problem. Call today for a free quote, 563-554-BUGS, proudly serving the Hawkeye State since 2008.
Locally owned and operated, Performance is a full-service restoration company serving eastern Iowa. As an IICRC certified firm, their multi-licensed technicians have decades of experience in water, mold, and fire mitigation. Whether it's your home or business, this is the team you want in a time of need. Performance Restoration, 319-626-2292. The Appliance Barn offers a wide range of high-quality appliances at unbeatable prices. Whether you're in the market for a new refrigerator, dishwasher, or washing machine, they've got you covered. They also have a delivery and setup department to ensure your appliances get delivered and installed quickly. To find out more, visit appliancebarn.com. Alrighty, Big Ten Championship Week. Here we go. Going to Indy. Hello, are you going to respond to me, or are you just going to look at me?
I was going to let you keep going. It kind of seemed like you were taking dramatic pauses and then also filling in the space. So I was just going to let you do it.
It's a co-hosting podcast, Matt.
To be fair, I'm the co-host. You're the host. So you expect you to...
I run this.
The host just leads conversation. The co-host actually gives, content.
Well, it's time for my content. And typically I would be talking about the mascot, some school history, fun facts about the opponent. But Michigan doesn't have a mascot. Actually, before we get too much further, I did get a DM about a mascot. Ooh, yeah, you did. My new favorite mascot. So we were watching TV the other day and the Fairway commercial came on. They're not a sponsor of the pod, but we'd welcome it if they want to be. And they have a mascot. It's like the meat counter guy. Not bad. He's adorable. He's like putting the Christmas lights together. I don't know how long they've had this mascot, but I just noticed him. And I was like, wait, that's a really good one. Not a day later, Matt gets a DM on Instagram. And this person's like, hey, has Laura seen the Fairway mascot? I think she'd like him. I do. If you're listening, I think it's a great one. But Michigan doesn't have one. And they said they will never get one because they said it's not dignified to have a mascot. Relax, Michigan. Okay. Wow. Okay. I mean, if you're looking around, Michigan versus everybody. You don't want the little red of Michigan bouncing around your field at the at the big house. How demoralizing would that be if you saw Big Blue? It's just Lil Blue, Big Blue, and Lil Blue. Lil Blue. Okay. Lil Blue at the big house. We should do that. They should do that. Okay. Worse. So they don't have a mascot. They're obviously the Wolverines. And I was like looking through like, oh, why are they the Wolverines? And it's so boring as to why they're the Wolverines. There's like, no one can like pinpoint exactly why. There's a ton of different theories and thoughts on why they're the Wolverines. And there's probably going to be people in the DMs, well, DMs too, but in the comments that are like, it's because this. And I know that it's because this. And that's fine. But I was looking at the Michigan website and it said that there's only theories as to why they're the Wolverines. And really, there's not even Wolverines in the state of Michigan. Isn't that crazy? Like the actual animal. Now, this is where I have to get my readers out because this is where it's small. Okay. On my phone. So a couple of and I'll just do it very quickly because again, it's kind of mind numbing, but just a couple of the theories are maybe it's because they used to trade Wolverine pelts like across the borders to different states because there's a couple of different like bordering states that have Wolverines. And so they trade a bunch of pelts. There's one. Boring. The French that settled there in Michigan in the 1700s, they said had appetites like Wolverines. And so they named it the Wolverine state. Boring. And, that's pretty much all I found. There's some other like theories, but I was like, I don't want to read this. So I don't think people really want to listen to it. So there you go. But somebody will have the information. I'm sure of it. And Hopefully. I'll be in trouble. But anyway, let's move on. So instead of talking about the Wolverines and why and all of those things, I want to talk about the Big Ten championship. So there's 2 trophies that are handed out. It's obviously the trophy. If you win the game, it's called the Stag Championship Trophy. And then there's the Grange Griffin MVP Award. So those are the 2 things that are handed out there. So I just want to talk about those 2 trophies, where they come from, and why. You ready for that?
Can't wait.
So it's named after Amos Alonzo Stagg. This man was cray.
Okay.
All right? In all the good ways. Okay, so he played football for Yale. He was an All-American in 1889. Excuse me, 1889. He also played baseball for Yale. He was a pitcher, and he declined 6 different offers to play for professional baseball teams. But he also invented the batting cage.
Okay.
It gets better. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach in 1951, and he was the only person to be inducted in both roles until the 1990s.
Wow.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
Like, actually a really long time now that I think about it. I'm not going to do the math. Don't even raise your eyebrows at me. I know exactly what that look is. So this guy was
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. No, because he...
51
18.
to the 1990s.
Okay, continue. So he coached 2 undefeated football teams, won a national championship, 1905 and 1913, for the Chicago Maroons. And then, actually I got to say this too, this is crazy, because we were talking about KF's record when we were on our way here. His career college football record for coaching, 314 and 35. What? So that would be why he's in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Pre-NIL.
Can you imagine? And then he coached basketball, and he actually developed the 5-man basketball team.
What were they playing with before?
I don't know. They didn't say. And then he's also in the Basketball Hall of Fame for coaching and was inducted in 1959.
What?
Yes, this guy was, I told you, I said cray. There's probably a lot of other things that he did, but those were the things that I was like, whoa. So I took note.
Sounds like a Jim Thorpe kind of person.
Unreal. I just really liked that he invented the batting cage. Duh. He's like, no, I don't really want to play professionally, but I'm going to invent this thing that's going to stand the test of time in sports where you can just practice all by yourself. Crazy.
I mean, it's got to be basically a cage, right?
Coined it. You didn't come up with it. I'm just saying.
It was already invented.
All right. And then the other thing is the Grange Griffin MVP Award. So this is clearly named after 2 people, Harold Edward Grange and then Archie Griffin, who, you know, Archie Griffin. You had a few stats and fun facts when I was talking to you about this before. But Harold Edward Grange, he had 2 different nicknames. It was the Galloping Ghost. You know this?
Yes, Red Grange. His nickname is Red.
Yeah. Good job. You know way too much stuff. He was also called the Wheaton Iceman.
I didn't know that one.
See? Learn something new every day. He played halfback at Illinois.
Yep, and then played for for Chicago.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Sorry, I'm stealing your thunder.
He was the first ever unanimous All-American. Kind of an interesting factoid there. And he actually, like you said, it was in 1925, joined the Chicago Bears. And he was kind of, people look at him as kind of the person that brought all of the attention to the National Football League, like in the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
You know that. Matt, you know too much stuff. All right. And then Archie Griffin. Again, there's probably way more stuff about like
Oh, for sure.
those people and all of the accolades and the things that they've done, but we only have so much time. So Archie Griffin, another one that has a billion accolades, but running back for Ohio State, and then went to the Bengals for 7 seasons. He was the only 2-time Heisman winner. These are things that probably the average like male sports fan knows, because I feel like an average male sports fan just has this weird filing cabinet in the back of their head where they just keep strange facts and I can't figure it out.
It's like Doug, your uncle.
My uncle. Yes.
Your uncle knows like everything.
Oh, he went to high school here and then he did this. And actually his daughter does this and his son did this. Yes.
Shout out Doug Feltus.
He could go on for hours. It's actually very impressive. And then finally, he won 4 Big Ten titles and was the first player to ever start in 4 Rose Bowls.
That's crazy.
Unreal. So Archie Griffin. So that is the Grange Griffin MVP Award. Who's going to win it? Iowa wins. They take home the Stag Championship Trophy. Who wins the Grange Griffin MVP Award?
Jay Higgins.
Friend of the pod. Did you think of that, or is that from something else? friend of
I'm
the
pretty
pod.
sure Matthew said that. One of our producers.
I just didn't know if it was from like another. I think if we stole it from somebody.
He is not responding, so I don't know if it was.
Yeah. Matthew took it. All right. So there you go. There's some of your fun facts that you can take to Indianapolis with you.
Yeah.
All right.
What are some other things you should do? Sorry, real quick before we get into Michigan.
Well, I was actually going to do that after we talked about Michigan. And then be like, if you guys are headed to Indianapolis.
Okay. Sorry.
We didn't talk about that before. Move on. Michigan. We watched the Michigan-Ohio State game. Hello. The game. Did you think it was so interesting how both coaches kind of talked about like, this is a game we prepare for all year?
Yes.
I think it's kind of weird. And I think it's probably mostly weird because all we hear from Iowa and Coach Ferentz and the players is every game is important. No game is more important than another one. And so to hear somebody admit that we look forward to this one and this is the most important one on our calendar every single year, I'm like, are you sure? Because I feel like the other ones are kind of important.
Well, that's all the hype for like Iowa State.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, we know it's there, but we'd rather show up 1-0 or 2-0 because usually it's week 2 or week 3.
Yeah.
Than to focus on them. Like there's no, now we may install something that we plan to throw on tape like one time that we know we're going to use more against Iowa State. That's possible. I mean, I didn't know that as a player, but maybe that's a thing. But I've definitely seen it at the high school ranks. I've seen different coaches talk about, hey, I'm preparing for them and they're 3 weeks ahead just because it's going to be a laugh or a joke to get to there. Like I've seen that, but never at the college level. I think it's really weird. No, kudos for them. They both went undefeated leading up into that game.
Right.
But yeah, it's just something that is foreign to me being from the Iowa program.
I guess that's probably what I mean too. It's like a foreign thing. Like, oh, okay, that's your talking point. Got it.
And we were talking about it like, we'd rather face Michigan's offense, but Ohio State's defense. So, it's tough. You look at that game, and this is one of the really tough parts about being a wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably one of the better. We watched his one-handed catch, right, while he's being drugged down. Like, he's a freak. He's one of the best players on the field, if not the best player that was on the field. You know how many times he touched the ball? 5.
Wow.
But like, he's the most dynamic player on the field. You have 70 some plays roughly, and he touches it 5.
Why is that?
He's a receiver. Like at most you're going to touch it maybe 10.
Oh, that's the point you're making.
Yeah.
Understood.
Like there's not like Blake Corum is the main guy for Michigan. He touched it 22 because he's a running back.
Right. I get you.
Like that's the difference. Like, I don't care if you got 2 guys on Marvin Harrison. I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to throw him the ball. Like that's my thought. Now I'm also a receiver, so I'm probably biased. But like if I need to get the ball in this guy's hands, I need to. But the skill set's completely different. It's like, well, you can just line him up in the backfield and have him run the ball. Well, that doesn't fit his skill set. He's better at catching the ball or routing a guy up and finding the hole in the zone and like stuff like that. But I think in a big game like that, you got to find a way to get him the ball more. And they did in the second half. I think he only had like 1 catch in the first half. In the second half, he kind of came alive. But he might have had 2 in the first half, I guess. But it's like to have one of the best players and that only touch it 5 times is tough. Now that's also Ohio State's offense is they want to spread it out. They got to make Buka. Excuse me, I'm probably butchering that. Cade Stover and a bunch of other guys that like they get the ball to in the pass game. But so that's why I'd rather face Michigan's offense because it's like, okay, Blake Corum, they're going to run the ball. Like they're a power running team. They do a little more read option stuff similar to like Minnesota or Nebraska. But JJ McCarthy's a much better passer than Chubba Purdy was. Purdy might be faster. JJ McCarthy's a little more shifty. He's also a risk taker. We saw that touchdown that he threw, that touchdown that maybe wasn't, to Roman Wilson. I don't know if you know what I'm referencing. He actually threw it at the back of one of Ohio State's linebackers. And the ball somehow squeezed in. There was a beautiful throw, but a risky throw. And so I think there's going to be opportunities there, but they're a power run team. I think they only threw it 20 times, but he was 16 of 20. So they're efficient when they throw the ball, but they want to run it. Like between Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, like they got 2 dudes back there that they feel comfortable just turning around, which I think plays more into what Iowa's strength is right now, which is defending the run. With Cooper out, because that would have been a great thing to see, like Cooper and Marvin Harrison Jr., that would have been sweet. But unfortunately, we don't get either of those matchups. And now we get to see Jay Higgins, who I think is going to have, like I said, a monster game just because they are going to try and run power. They might run it out of the gun, which looks a little bit funky. Also, I feel bad they had their All-American guard, Michigan did, All-American guard Zach Zinter, broke both his tibia and his fibula in his leg, and on a 315-pound man, like, really sad. So hopefully surgery goes well for him and he gets back. You never want to see players go down, especially somebody of that caliber.
No.
So, feel for him and his family. But obviously that's going to set them back in the run game a little bit, not having him. So I'll be interested to see our defensive line against their offensive line. That's going to be the biggest thing. Ohio State only had one tackle for loss, and it was a sack. And it was the only sack of the game. So, I mean, it's like this is, they want to play downhill football like we do. They just make it look a lot different.
Okay.
Because we threw the ball 20 some times, but we only had 11 completions.
Yeah.
And they went 16 of 20. So they're going to play similar styles in that way. And he's going to roll like Purdy. So like I mentioned before, defensive line is going to have to be fundamentally lane sound when they rush the passer. But I don't think their receivers are necessarily to Ohio State's standards. Maybe not standards is the right word, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. by far is a much better receiver than the guys that Michigan had. Not that they're bad by any means, they're at Michigan. So I just feel like I would rather face a running team than a passing team. And on the flip side, Ohio State didn't have a terrible time running the ball. They're averaging 3 yards a carry. Another guy, Trayanum, was a backup. He was averaging like 6 yards a carry. Like they were getting after him a little bit. But we're going to have to be willing to take shots against this defense.
That's what I was just going to ask you. What are we going to have to do on offense that's going to be enough?
Well, it's going to be curious to see what Caleb Brown's availability is. But we haven't seen Seth Anderson go deep since week 1. Now, we've seen a couple deep balls that Cade tried to hit between Seth and Deontay. We'll see if Deontay's back. I know that it was like an ankle injury, I think, or lower body injury. So like, if he comes back, I think he's got an opportunity, but I think we are going to have to stretch the field. Like if I'm Michigan, I'm putting 9 guys in the box and I'm going press man on the receivers and just say, beat us.
Don't tell him what to do. You're giving it away.
But like, that's what I'm doing if I'm Michigan. I'm not playing zone. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm going to run blitz every single time until they prove that they can win on the outside. And even if it's just like something that we, CJ and I would do, and he threw a couple to Devon as well, is we had what was called a key, which is essentially like a quick step and turn, boom, balls out. It's kind of like what the screens that we've been throwing to Caleb Brown, except without the screen. Okay. So like it's a run and then you look out there and you're like, oh, he's got space. I'll just zip it out there. Yeah. And like I said, admittedly, I wasn't very good, but it converted versus press. So if we got press, based on my alignment, I would have enough room to go to the sideline and then CJ would just throw it up. It's like, okay, well, this is as bad. If it's incomplete, you just miss far and outside, which we saw Deacon do to Caleb Brown. So I feel better about that as opposed to missing short and inside. Obviously, we want it completed, but I would rather see that kind of stretch because then that might even just soften a safety. And if that softens a safety, now you got an 8-man box and it's easier to run against 8 than it is 9. So like little things like that, or maybe you come out empty. Right. And it's quick jets and it's a quick pass game and it's, trying quick hitters. Obviously, LeSean Williams, I think, has proven that he needs to get the ball, and it's not like, oh, he's ripping off 90-yard runs every week, although he did have an 82-yarder against Wisconsin. But I think he's having consistently like 5 or 6, like he's falling forward. Now, I do think that we kind of get caught into a trap of running the ball on 2nd and 10. And this is me as a receiver wanting to throw the ball. But I think that against this kind of defense, I think we're going to have to try and spread him out. This isn't going to be the Deacon Hill game where he goes off for 500 yards, but I do think we're going to have to throw out more than we feel like throwing. So I think getting him ready and making sure that we understand that LeSean Williams is going to get smacked a lot, but we got to make sure that we're keeping all 3 of those guys fresh. Blitz pickup's going to be important. But again, their defense is pretty fundamentally sound. They're one of the top defenses. They're the only one I think that allows less points than Iowa. So like it's 2 really good defenses. Yeah. But it's what is the offense going to be able to do to loosen that box? And if it's going empty or you go kind of an open set, you go 2x2, get the tight ends split out as receivers and then run the ball because now you're running against a softer box because you took linebackers out over your tight ends. Like that might be a way to do it and still be able to run what you want to run. Or you put 2 backs near Deacon Hill Like let's say you had LeSean and Caleb Johnson back there, and then you had 2 receivers on one side, 1 receiver in the back, and you soften it that way, and then you can still run what you want in terms of like having a lead blocker for either way. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do, but you have to loosen the box, I feel like, in order to do that kind of stuff. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You can't get away from what you do, but you can have wrinkles in based on what you do. And you can have a special thing because the last time for Coach Brian Ferentz, at least in this particular instance, this is the last time coaching in a Big Ten championship.
Sure.
Why not win it and then turn around and say whatever you want to the university?
Sure.
If you're Brian Ferentz.
Okay. So then question on playing indoors. So then when you guys were preparing in 2015, you guys typically would prepare for a game and practice outside, right? So are you practicing in the indoor since you guys are going to be inside? More so, yeah. Okay. So are you used to, once you get to Lucas Oil, is there any kind of like adjustment period? Does it feel weird? Oh, yeah. What about like catching the ball? Lights are completely different. Got it. So then it's a little tougher? Yeah. Got it. Also, like, and you'll get this between different stadiums, but when you look up, you're used to, and the indoor is decent, but it's not as tall as like an NFL stadium. Like this is an NFL stadium they're going to play in. When the ball is up in the air, I'm used to seeing the brown of the ball versus the blue of the sky. Well, there's nothing shifting up there. There might be a cloud or something, and it's a lot easier for me to see if it's a deep ball. But in this, like you've got different lights, it's black. Brown versus black isn't always a super easy thing to see. So pregame warmups, there is an adjustment period where you're probably just bombing them to your buddy of like, okay, let me train my eyes to see how I can find this ball in this kind of condition. But and it's loud. It's going to be loud, but I mean, you're going to be so hyped. Like you're in the Big Ten championship. Yeah. It's really cool. The other part that's an adjustment is you are in the indoor for multiple reasons, but like when you're playing outside at Nebraska and it's 17 degrees, not that you don't have to hydrate, but there's a lot less, like you're not sweating as much. Oh, sure. So you haven't been sweating for the last couple of games, and now you go into a really sweaty environment because indoors you just sweat a ton. It's almost like you're playing back in August against, well, I'm thinking of a game North Texas where it was super hot, but like when I played, but like those August games are kind of what it comes back to. And, you know, in the early games, it's cramping and stuff like that. So you're really gonna have to be on your hydration this week. So that way you don't cramp when you go into the dome. Look at all these insights. Look at you go. I'm going to give you some. If you're going to Indianapolis, what should we do? Oh, am I already done? Am I done talking about Michigan? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Did you have anything else? No. I thought you were going to ask me like, how do we win this game? Or what's the final score? Oh, sorry. Well, Matt, what's the final score? I don't want to say it now. Never done predictions. I don't want to say it now. What's the final score? It's okay. No. Give me an optimistic. What do we do? No, for real. Give me an optimistic final score. See, here's the thing. If Iowa wins, it's going to be like an ugly score. It's going to be like 14-13 or something. That's an optimistic final score. 15-12. Like, cool. I like that. We're going to have to keep them under 3 touchdowns. Okay. I think our defense can do that. And we're going to need a short field, more than likely. Not to say we can't go down the field and score, but we haven't put a ton of it on tape. So we have to get at least 1 or 2 down there, and the defense just continues to do what the defense does. You know, I mean, this has been the quintessential team in terms of the defense picking up, special teams picking up, you know, offense getting them into position to kick field goals. Like I know they're not touchdowns, but like if you can get into position to get points, it's really all what it's about. I don't envision a similar 42-3 a couple years ago. I really don't. Okay. I think it's going to be much closer than that. Nice. That's what we like to hear. Thank you so much. All right. If you're going, move on. Sorry. If you are going to Indianapolis, just a few things from the last time we went. And we aren't like the partier. We had Dax with us. So this isn't like, here's your bars to hit up. We weren't partiers before Dax. This is the wrong place for that. But if you're just looking to have a nice time and you're taking some kids, who takes their kids? The fan experience is super fun. They do it. You don't have to have kids to have fun at the fan experience. Matt loved it. You can awesome. You do like a 40-yard dash. They have like some catching things, just like little games and stuff like that you can have a good time at. So, and they have stations. There's like 10 to 15 different stations. Yeah. And they have some giveaways like swag bags and stuff like that too. So that was super fun. And I think that's connected to the hotel that we stayed at, that the team stayed at. Trying to think. It's the convention center. That's where that's at. Okay. So that you have to get tickets to that, right? I don't know. The fan experience is super fun. We were smart. on the way there, Giordano's Pizza is just the
We
best.
weren't smart. You were smart.
I was smart. Giordano's is the best pizza, I'm convinced, and they have it in Indianapolis. So on our way there, we were like, oh, it's going to be dinner time by the time we get there, but everywhere is going to be packed full of people. So what we should do is just order pizza ahead of time so that it's ready by the time we get into Indianapolis, if I can talk, get the pizza, take it back to the hotel room, eat the pizza, go to bed, and be ready for the next day.
Genius.
So there you go. Just a little pro tip for you if you're headed in. And then the other thing is, I think it's the Indianapolis Zoo is like right there. We didn't get to go because we got in too late, but my parents and my sister and their families went, and they have like a light display. And obviously the animals are out and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, I guess that was super fun. And then obviously the Hawkeye Huddle, you have to find out where that is and attend that as well, because that's a good time.
And make them sell out a beer. I guess that's happened the last couple of times.
That goes without saying. We don't have to pub that. There's no marketing that goes into that. That's just Iowa.
There is hold on. There is, if you wake up in the morning, there is a really good donut place.
Oh, I wish I had the
can't
name.
remember the name of the donut place, but we stopped.
It was so
Delicious donuts.
Yeah,
So
it's like
they
a
got a
little-
bunch of hole in the walls place.
It was.
Really
It was
good.
like a little hole in the wall. We just walked over there. It was super good. So, okay. That is everything. We're headed to the Big Ten Championship, everybody. We wish the Hawkeyes the best of luck. If you're going, have the best time. If you're watching from home, cheer on the Hawks. Let's get a dub. Let's go Hawks.
And like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. All the fun stuff. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.